everybody, and welcome to the next episode, whatever number it is, of the Swinburne Pop Culture Club podcast. I, for the millionth time, am your host, Oscar, and today I'm joined by Danny.
Hello.
Isaac.
Hello.
And our honoured club founder, former club president, and a man who is such a big nerd of today's topic that he felt the need to go conduct market research before discussing it. Matthew!
Hi, we're on episode 7, by the way, or you guys are.
It's episode 7, that's it.
This is
And
episode-
today's...
It's 8.
Oh, it's 8.
Oh no.
So you've got a secret one you
episode
haven't
8.
uploaded
So
yet.
clearly it's already become evident that inviting Matthew to guest on this podcast was a mistake. But anyway, the topic in question that Matthew is such a big nerd about is Disney. This is the Disney cast. So,
Oh, you can't say Disney
as is-
cast, that's already a thing, that's copyrighted.
oh god, we're already demonetized. So I suppose, as with so many of our topics, the best place to start is what is everyone's kind of first Disney adjacent memory? Like, what would it be for you, Danny?
Maybe Finding Nemo.
Oh yeah.
I think, or it would have been Cars, or potentially Chicken Little. There's so many it could be. Matt, why are you?
Because if that's your first memory, I was like, how old was I when that came out? Jeez. 15, 16.
I'm 21. Like, there's
I
a...
should also take this opportunity to inform viewers that Matthew is a grumpy old man compared to the rest of us. So
Well.
his Disney memories are going to be substantially different to the rest of us.
Fine.
So what's
I'm
your first?
1990, it's all good. Finding Nemo, when did Finding Nemo come out? 2003, I was 13, wasn't that bad. Okay.
So what would be your first Disney memory then, Matthew?
My first memory was playing the Lion King video game on my dad's computer.
Ooh.
Because the second level, you have to fight the hyenas, and when you die, Simba makes this really creepy, scary animation of dying. And I've read about this recently, actually, on YouTube. And well, I've read about it on YouTube. I guess I read the comments, and a lot of people actually relate to this thing. If you go and look it up, is it like an animation of Simba dying in the Super Nintendo Lion King game? And it's just really, it's a really sad thing to see. But also, I know my first movie I've ever seen in a cinema, and I think first movie ever, that wasn't from Czech Republic, was Aladdin. I don't remember seeing it, but I've been told my first movie ever was Aladdin. So lots of Disney memories as a kid.
And what about okay, that's really cool. Well, what about you then, Isaac? 'Cause you've said that you have a bit more experience with the live action Disney stuff. So is that also true for like some of your earliest Disney memories?
It is. So I think my earliest memory of Disney stuff was going to the video store, like going out to Blockbuster, and every single week renting out the Princess Diaries.
Was it that good a movie, was it?
I mean, I don't know. I was just like, I think I saw the trailer and I was like, oh, she says shut up, and I'm like, ooh, that's edgy to me, like a 4-year-old. But then I just like really like the rest of the movie. I haven't seen it in years. I should probably go back and watch it again. I think like the first Disney movie I ended up seeing in cinemas was, I think, Finding Nemo.
Fair enough. Yeah, like that's. I think it's probably, to be fair, I think it's kind of probably hard even to like find a bad movie that has Julie Andrews in it. Like that, just a thought.
Yeah.
Because for me, like I suppose like my earliest Disney memories would probably include Aladdin and Finding Nemo, or actually probably more so The Lion King. I distinctly remember like early watching of that movie because it was also the first movie I can remember making me cry. And it was a very weird experience watching it as a kid, and I was watching it without my mum, so like she wasn't like there with me or anything, but like just watching this movie. Mufasa's death scene when like Simba's like, "Dad, we got to get up." Like,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
It's like, why
That's
wouldn't
fair.
you cry?
duh, like. Yeah.
Just so you know, Julie Andrews has been in the Tooth Fairy 2, so...
Well, no one's
yeah.
perfect.
Also on Disney Plus.
Is it? Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I mean, Disney has changed a lot, like this kind of, I guess, past decade even. Like, you know, they've kind of moved exclusively almost, well, when it comes to their animated stuff at least, or animated feature films, like they're almost all 3D now instead of like 2D hand-drawn animation. And obviously, you know, Disney Plus is being a big kind of, I suppose, shake-up in the Disneyverse, which I'm sure is another copyrighted term. Because it's like now all of a sudden it's like every single thing that Disney has almost is at your fingertips, really. Like,
yeah,
think...
and they've been buying, just the Disney brand in total has changed quite a bit with all these new companies they've bought.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like Star Wars and so on. Yeah.
I didn't really realize how much media Disney had gotten and like kind of like how much they have until Disney Plus launched. And I realized like, oh, I can watch every single Disney movie, like whether it was good or not, like there, almost every single Star Wars thing and almost every single Marvel thing, like right there. Like, and now almost, and yeah, and also National Geographic, and also like now a lot of Fox stuff is there too, like The Simpsons, like that's, actually no, The Simpsons started there. Futurama, that's what I was thinking of. Like that came to Disney Plus relatively recently, which I was super excited to see, because there was no good way to watch, especially living in Australia, because you know we don't have quite as rich a streaming environment, I would say, as like the States. So it was often quite hard to find good, like where you could watch certain things, even if those things were quite popular, like Futurama. But now it's like Disney Plus.
For me, Disney, like when I started watching it, was it had a lot of, it felt very kiddie to me. A lot of kids' movies. But also maybe that's just because I always grew up only watching Disney movies that were for kids. I don't know, Matt, if you know any movies that weren't for kids.
I want to know which one you think, which movies do you mean are for kids?
Well, like, I guess the ones I watched as a kid. So all like the Cars movies and Beauty and the Beast, Atlantis, Bambi.
So you more have the perceived idea that it's for kids because you watched it as a kid, but I'd say a lot of people really enjoy Atlantis and Beauty and the Beast as adults.
Oh, definitely.
Because they have
really
good stories, really good music. So I wouldn't really say they're kids' movies. They're more family movies. And more like Cars. I'd say Cars is a kids' movie that adults enjoy, but it's definitely more geared towards kids than some of the older Disney will like Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. No, I do think that everyone can enjoy them. Yeah.
I mean, like, to me, often, like, some Disney movies are, like, kid-friendly movies just only because they have the Disney logo on them. Like, there are some that I think if they were not made by Disney, I would not exactly be rushing to show my kids, sort of thing. Like, I'm trying to... The Black Cauldron, that's one that always comes to mind in that kind of aspect. Like, that is, I don't know if you guys have seen that one, but like it is a very grim film in places. Like,
I've definitely heard of it.
I haven't watched it. I just realized, actually, going back to my first interaction with Disney, it was Dumbo for sure. And I know that has some dark scenes in it.
I was gonna say that is another anything but cheery movie.
Yeah, there's some very weird, like someone. So I'll bring this up randomly now, but we did a survey before the podcast asking people about their opinions on Disney and stuff, and a lot of people were talking about how Disney really shows its age and like what was right at the time. And Dumbo is one of them. Pinocchio, you know, they've got so many themes in them that are darker than what you would be allowed to do now. And then stuff like Song of the South, which Disney seems to hate for some reason.
Have you actually? Has anyone ever? Yeah.
Yeah, go.
I was gonna say, has anyone actually ever watched Song of the South?
Yes.
I haven't.
So to put my expertise into why you brought me here, I've seen every movie pre-Beauty and the Beast because I started a marathon from the first movie all the way to there, and then the person I was doing it with, I broke up with and never went back to watching all the new stuff. So I probably know the old stuff better than I know the new stuff, but so I have seen Song of the South.
is Song of the South as bad as people say it is? Like, I'm not saying it shouldn't be, but like, I always think it's important with like these kinds of movies. Like, it's important to like watch and judge for yourself. Which obviously there's only so much of it that I can do because like I have absolutely no connection to like slavery in the United States. So like I wouldn't.
What is?
And it's not.
What is Song of the South?
The Song of the South is a story about Uncle Remus, who is a black man who tells stories about these cartoon characters called Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox. Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox. Brer Bear, or something like that. And you might know them as the characters from Splash Mountain at Disneyland, if you've ever been, or know the ride Splash Mountain, which they are rebranding soon, which is kind of sad, because now Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox and everyone's going to go away. But he's just basically telling them the story of Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox. And so it goes from him telling the story, the kid going home and being like, wow, I know the story. And then he goes back to him and being like, wow, black man, tell me more stories. And I think that's why Disney doesn't like it, is because the black people are seen as the house workers. They're seen as, not always, they're not as rich as the other people. They're looked kind of down upon, but that's kind of what the kid's doing the opposite of. He's showing that, they're just normal people, obviously. And so, it's just kind of, the whole problem is there's one scene where you see that the housemaid is a slave, but she's not referenced as a slave. She's happy in the movie and whatever, which is obviously not how it would be in real life. She's super pumped for being there. And there's one scene where a whole bunch of black miners go and dig for coal and they sing a song, and that's more slavery. Right. But that's it. They're not really like saying it's amazing, slavery is amazing or anything like that. It's just showing a depiction of the time, and obviously they don't want to. It makes it look kind of positive, and so that's kind of why they're against releasing the movie in any way.
Yeah. It sounds like a movie that like tried to like be positive about it and like kind of, address the issue, but like it was just not very sensitive or sensible in how it went about it.
It's kind of like they didn't address it enough that it kind of just looked like it's just like, this is normal. It wasn't good or bad. It was just, this is a thing.
It wasn't. Like, I get that. Yeah. What was I going to say?
The animated parts are great, so it's worth just looking them up because they're quite enjoyable, especially the accents that they use.
But like, I mean, you compare The Song of the South, which is obviously a problematic movie, to The Princess and the Frog, released in 2009, I believe, which is Disney's most recent 2D animation. Matthew's smirking at me, so was it actually like 2011?
No, you got it, 2009.
It was 2009, But it featured Disney's first African-American princess character. And it's a brilliant movie, I think. Like, it's a very good movie, and the animation in it is gorgeous. And every time I go back to watch it, I keep thinking, what could Disney do if they put like the same amount of effort into The Princess and the Frog for 2D hand-drawn animation, but a decade on with like more modern technology at their disposal. I think it is a bit of a shame, like that Disney is so like they basically seem to have gone 3D stuff for their films and 2D stuff for their shows, but the 2D stuff for their shows is not that super high fidelity 2D animation. It's the more simplistic 2D animation that's like common in stuff like Steven Universe. And I think that actually kind of works a bit to the movie's visual disadvantage when it comes to their most recent feature film being Luca.
Which I only just watched today.
Well, we better talk about Luca a bit because we all went to the trouble of watching it before this podcast, and it is
the trouble of watching it.
Yeah, and it is the most recent Disney movie at the time of recording, so it would be good to talk about it. But yeah, like me as an animation student, like I place a lot of attention on like how film looks a lot of the time, and I feel like Luca's often in this uncomfortable middle ground between 2D and 3D, because it's obviously a very 3D movie, but like it feels like the character designs and some of the animation would have worked better in 2D. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
Kind of felt that
Yeah.
way.
At the start of it, I don't know. There's a it's this they may have got lazy going through it seems, because at the start there's this amazing scene where, spoiler warning, Luca comes out of the
Oh yeah,
water,
spoilers for Luca.
looks up, and you can see like the sun and there's a mountain, and I think the whole point of the scene is to make land look glorious and like there's so much to explore and all that. But then after that, it just goes away. But that scene in particular that I'm thinking of, it looks like real life. And then after that, it's just like the quality just dips.
Did you do a spoiler of a sunrise?
Well, for me, like there was one.
That was not a spoiler, so yeah. Sorry, go.
No, I was gonna say, for me, there was like one scene where like one of the characters was like eating something, and like they turn sideways, and they do that really exaggerated thing where like the eye is round and like on the side of the head, and like the mouth is like open in like a perfect C shape, and you can like there's nothing behind it. If you can kind of visualize
you just go
that.
through it.
Yeah, it's like, and it looked. Oh, like I get they were kind of like going for an exaggerated pose in that particular moment, but it didn't look right. It didn't look right in 3D, I thought.
I actually didn't notice
I think
that.
the thing is, it's like 3D is always looking to sort of like push the boundaries of their medium and try and like do creative things. I feel like, you know, it's interesting trying to like sort of take elements of 2D animation and try and translate it to 3D.
That is true. And that being said, I will give credit where I can in that I do applaud them for actually trying to exaggerate 3D animation a bit. Like, you think to like some classic 2D stuff, and the characters are all very stretchy, you know, they change shape a lot to like emphasize their actions. But 3D doesn't do that as much. And I get why. Like, I know a bit of 3D, and it is much harder to do that.
I'd argue that like Pixar doesn't do it as much. But like if you look at other studios like maybe Sony,
true.
They tend to do it a lot more.
That's true. That is quite true. Like Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs does it quite well. Like, is that DreamWorks? DreamWorks does it.
That was Sony.
Oh, Sony.
The test footage they did for Popeye was like very good.
Hotel Transylvania. That's what I was thinking of. That does 3D exaggerated animation very well. I love the way those films are animated.
All right. I think it's time to get off the Sony tangent, get back to Disney.
Yes, we absolutely should. I suppose we should also... So, like, what do you guys, I guess, think of Luca from other aspects? Like, what do you think of its, like, actual plot and characters and what have you?
I thought the whole concept of it was really interesting to me. I loved... going back to it a little bit, but I loved the animation of it. The only bit that got me was maybe like a little bit after the middle, it gets a bit slow, and I actually had to take a few breaks. I went and made some Vegemite on toast and some other stuff, and then I came back to it, and it was still such a struggle to get to the end for me. And then once I got there, and everything sorted out, and the parents come out of the water and all this other stuff, I loved it. But just getting to the end felt... Yeah, Isaac, do you have something?
I don't know. Like I watched this sort of early this morning. I was like up at 2 watching this. I was gonna try and do like work on the side and watch it in another tab, but I ended up just like full tabbing it onto my TV. No, I enjoyed it. I don't know. I didn't really sort of expect too much from it. Like sort of going in, I was like pleasantly surprised. It's like. It's nice every once in a while to just chill with sort of a lower stakes slice of lifey kind of movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this hit that right spot for me.
Yeah. What about you, Matthew?
I agree with Isaac. It's very low stakes, and that's why I liked it. And I knew that going in that it was low stakes because I heard other people reviewing it. So if you're going in thinking it's going to be like a big action adventure kind of thing, like most movies are, like Finding Nemo, there's a big, there's huge sets and there's turtle swimming and he's trying to find his way home and all this exciting stuff. But then Luca's just like, yeah, I want a scooter. That's the whole movie's premise is Luca wants to ride a scooter, a Vespa specifically.
Like I've been watching some like slasher movies the night before, so I think it was like the perfect palate cleanser for me.
Fair enough. Yeah, because like I mean, I kind of had a similar experience to Danny. Like I did find it a little slow moving, particularly like in the middle, but it is also a very relaxing movie, and I did really like that. You think about like so many other Disney movies have a very much more grand adventure, and even when you could make an argument that like the stakes are technically low, like say Inside Out, like it's like the plot gives it enough weight to make the stakes seem higher, I suppose. But Luca doesn't do that. Like the stakes are low, and the movie never pretends otherwise, and never tries to insist otherwise. And I think that's a good thing. Like it is genuinely because of it a relaxing movie. And I did really like that about it. And like I brought out like some issues I had with the animation before, but like those were really minor. And like in reality, like I do think it is a gorgeous looking movie. Like, yeah.
I'm glad you all gave it a go because I feel like this one's going to bypass a lot of people's radars. Like you guys only really watched it because of the podcast, I guess.
I was planning to watch it anyway.
I was thinking about watching it, yeah.
See, that's what I hear a lot of people say, oh, I think I'm going to watch it, but it's been out for a few months now, and when did it come out? June. So a lot of people are like, I'll get to it, but then when are you ever in the mood just to be watching this random movie you know really nothing about, when you've got so many other things to watch? That's the problem with streaming right now, it's just too many things to watch, and stuff like Luca kind of gets knocked down your list because it's a kid's movie on Disney Plus, and there's so many other big popular things coming out, so... I'd really suggest it to people who want something chill.
Absolutely, I would definitely recommend it. And it's also only 90 minutes, so it's not exactly a huge investment of your time either.
The increased like availability of it. So now that you can stream all movies, it seems like people are watching them less.
That's true.
To me at least.
Well, I'd agree with that because like there's no pressure, I suppose, to like watch a movie in any kind of timely manner. Like you never have to be, I need to like go watch this while it's still in theaters or anything. It's just always waiting there for you when you want it. I know like DVDs do the same thing, but like you still have to go out and buy the DVD.
You need to get
whereas, it. Whereas here it's just like ready to go whenever you want it. I mean, I still haven't gotten around to watching Raya and the Last Dragon, which is like the other kind of movie that like had to skip theaters due to the pandemic and move straight to Disney Plus. And unfortunately, part of the reason I haven't gotten around to watching it yet is because I have not heard all that many great things about it.
I got about halfway through it, and I honestly I think I just got bored of it. It didn't pull me into the story at all. Matt, have you watched it?
I haven't, and I'd like to say now, sorry to the person who in the poll said it was their favorite Disney movie.
Oh no.
I can't say I'm sorry.
I haven't seen it yet, so I can't judge it, but...
Alright, we won't go too much into it then.
Yeah.
We won't want to spoil it.
I mean, I will say, I think Disney Plus has given Disney the opportunity to be a bit more experimental, I suppose. Like, not just with, like, their Disney stuff, but, like, with all the properties that they own and are on Disney Plus, because, like, there's less stakes now. Like, people pay money for Disney Plus no matter what they're watching, if anything at all. So there's much less risk, I would suppose, about releasing something on Disney Plus, because even if it just sits there and no one watches it, Disney's technically still earning money from it.
Yeah, even if you forget that you have the subscription, that you're still going to pay that monthly cost.
Who pays monthly? Pay for it a year, you're going to use it. Disney Plus for a year, Disney Plus forever. All right. I was going to say, what was I going to say now? Something about cinemas. Oh, stuff like Soul. Has anyone seen Soul?
Yes, I've seen Soul.
Yes.
That's something I worry about, because a lot of people who've seen it talk about how good it is, but because it didn't get to cinema, Disney's not going to recognize it as a huge thing or be worthy of stuff to merch to put in the theme park or whatever, because it's not going to be making them as much money as if people are going to the cinema to see it. Yeah, it's just another thing on their platform. So that's one thing that really brings down some new IPs that are new and exciting and different, because they're going to save their big things. Like if they make a Frozen 3, that will wait for cinema. They won't put that on streaming. But stuff like Soul and Luca and whatever, they're just like, we'll put it there. If it's popular, maybe we'll make some merch of it or whatever. But I haven't seen Luca merch or Soul merch or anything like that.
Soul as like a holographic kids roller coaster would be amazing. I think I'll remove kids from that. I reckon everyone would go on that.
I just need to make it more carefully, though. I would not want a Soul roller coaster that like mimics the scene of going to the great beyond. Like,
might not do that.
What would a Luca theme park ride look like? It'd either be like a
an aquarium,
bike themed roller coaster, or like a wave pool.
Disney has these like rides that they have on track. So it's like storybook rides, and I think Luca would be suited more to that, because you could be like, they could make it look like you're on water when you're really not, or they could put you in water. It's easy to put water rides on tracks.
Yeah,
Luca Dark Ride could be interesting.
Because Luca doesn't suit a roller coaster.
No, it's like
it's a chill show. You don't put a roller coaster
for a chill
relaxing
movie. Like,
unless you use the scene where they make their own Vespa and they go down that hill.
I was going to say, maybe they should just build a replica of a little Italian town and like just have like send kids hurtling down the hill on like a rusty old bicycle or something.
I was just thinking that could replace what was it we were talking about earlier, Splash Mountain or whatever the one is.
Yeah.
What is
it? Disney would have to get desperate for that.
The like water pit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That'd be perfect.
The new Splash Mountain's going to be based on Princess and the Frog. There you go.
Oh, there you go.
All right.
There's going to be a new Princess and the Frog ride at Disneyland soon.
Cool. I suppose I would like to take the opportunity, because I mentioned briefly earlier how Isaac is more familiar with the live action Disney stuff. So like I want to ask guys, like, so what live action movies does that include? Because like there's several branches of like Disney live action stuff. Like there's the recent live action remakes like Aladdin, Lion King, Maleficent, that sort of stuff. And then there's like their old live action stuff, like the computer wore tennis shoes. So like
I'm more familiar with like that in between era when they launched like Touchstone in Hollywood, that sort of era.
Right. So what movies does that include?
So that's like 1980s, 1990s. So it's like stuff like Father of the Bride and like Con Air, The Rock, stuff around that era.
I'm completely lost right now.
I was gonna say you lost. I'm sorry to say you lost me rather quickly, which is a shame. Because
really like jumped from like 0 to 100 there, going from Father of the Bride. I was gonna say
that is like deep cut Disney. Like
not that deep. It's on Disney Plus. It's kind of popular stuff.
That doesn't mean it's not deep cut.
Con Air is a very big movie. I haven't seen it, but
Wes Anderson stuff as well.
Really? Which Wes Anderson stuff?
Most of the stuff he's made recently, like I think French Dispatch is coming out pretty soon, even though it's technically Fox, like studios now, I guess. But like a lot of his stuff, he also did like Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, Royal Tenenbaums, and then some animated stuff like Isle of Dogs and Fantastic Mr. Fox.
So Fantastic Mr. Fox is Disney, is it?
Technically. Like it's on Netflix as part of a deal with the other producers, but it's also I think on Disney Plus as well.
No, it's not. I've just checked. Which is a shame, because like that is a great movie. Because like when I think of live action Disney stuff, like what actually comes to my mind first is Mary Poppins, like, which even then like includes some animated segments.
I think of that stuff too, but I think the stuff that I'm personally more fond of is like, I guess the 80s, 90s era.
Right. I'll have to like watch some of these movies, because I don't think I've watched a single thing you've just mentioned.
It's because they're not like
Disney
as in the traditional sense of Yeah, they're like a side
It's
label
like
that Disney
it's
created
their
so they
adult
could make
sub
these
labels.
movies. Because
Yeah.
Disney wants to be known. I went on a tour in the Disney offices in the UK as part of uni, and they were literally telling me stories about how they have to make separate companies because Disney, as a brand, Disney doesn't want to make anything that's rated over PG. So, and that's a little bit outdated now because they've made like Marvel movies and stuff, and that's all associated with Disney now. But yeah, everything they wanted to make had to be PG friendly because that's how they marketed their brand, and they always wanted to be seen as something that the family could go to. Like every single movie is safe, every single movie is appropriate, so every single movie you can go and spend your money on.
Like,
And
I
so when they
think
made yeah,
technically their first PG film wasn't until the late 70s.
ooh, that's hard to say now because a lot of the older films should be rated PG now
Yeah.
for what they've got in them. But so I can't really say. I can't even look that up. Like what was
I think
the
it's
first PG?
I mean,
Also,
I don't know what it is for like. I don't know what the equivalents are for like Australians, but like going off the MPA system, I think it was like 1979.
Do you know which movie?
Black Hole.
Oh yes, there you go. There's a live action that I have not seen because when I said I've seen every Disney movie, I meant Disney movie including animation in it because I'm an animation person. Black Hole's meant to be really good though. Have you seen it?
I've seen bits of it. I don't know. Looks interesting.
There you go. For everyone's homework, let's all go watch Black Hole
yeah,
and never talk about it.
that includes the audience. I think it's also probably to do with the fact that like the 70s and 80s and the 90s a bit were like also maybe not the 70s but definitely like late 80s and 90s were like Disney's animated renaissance. So like that's when you get like The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast.
No,
That's
this is
when all
90s. You're in 80s, 70s, and 80s was their dead period. So they
That's true.
failed. Oh, what movie was it? They made a princess movie and did really badly, and they basically stopped making princess movies until I think it was Little Mermaid.
Yeah, The Little Mermaid was
And
the first movie in the Disney Renaissance. I know that.
yeah, was it? I thought it was Aladdin. No, I don't know the order of movies. I just know it was 90s.
I know some people argued that like Great Mouse Detective was like sort of something was bubbling up, but like I think it really started about Little Mermaid.
Yeah, which was released in 1989. So yeah, like late 80s into the 90s.
Very late 80s. They had stuff like Oscar and Friends. They had The Great Mouse Detective. They had what else was in that period? And then there was a little bit after the Lion King and after Aladdin and stuff. They had another dead period where they made stuff like Over the Ranch or something of cows. I can't remember what it's even called.
Yeah.
And like The Emperor's New Groove, which is like a cult classic now, but was never that popular.
Atlantis, that was also around that time.
Yeah, Atlantis, those kind of things. So Disney,
Oh,
everyone thinks of Disney as like
Treasure
this huge
Planet?
company where everything's amazing, but there are so many dead periods they had.
Yeah, for sure. And like I'm saying, it's like, you know, these live action movies that like Isaac is talking about, they were released like kind of either in their dead period or right as their animation was like starting to properly take off again, which I suppose is kind of why like those movies have kind of, rather sadly it sounds like, fallen into a bit of obscurity. Like, because like, yeah, I mean, I guess on that though, like, what are your guys do you guys have any like general thoughts on like their recent live action stuff? So like their remakes, like Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast, Maleficent, I would include in that one as well. I think Maleficent is actually probably where they hit the nail on the head the best. Like,
Are you saying Maleficent's the best?
Well, I don't know if it's the best, but I do like how rather than just recreating Sleeping Beauty except in live action, it took the opportunity, and it took the opportunity it was granted with being a live action rather than animated, because I don't think its story would have worked particularly well in animation. So I like that they went, okay, we're making a live action film, we're going to use this as an opportunity to tell a new story that is, you know, kind of loosely based on the original. Whereas I think, was anyone really no, people in fact were vehemently against like live action remakes of Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast and The Lion King, which don't really add much to their original source material. Whereas Maleficent, I feel like, did.
I remember seeing it in cinemas, and all I know is I really, really enjoyed that. And I think that was the first. Was it a musical?
Maleficent?
Yeah.
I don't think it was. It's been a while since I watched it.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly, but that was the first sort of live action Disney thing that I watched. Um, and I think after that I started watching a little bit more, but I haven't fully committed properly.
I did go and see So go on, Matthew.
I was just I haven't seen any of the live actions except Beauty and the Beast, and I really didn't like it. So I know that Maleficent and Cruella and the upcoming what was the upcoming one? They're making a Cruella 2 as well. They're all based on original stories. So they're a little bit more interesting at least. But
that said, like I applaud Maleficent for having a bit more of an original story, but some of the mockery really that's been directed at Cruella indicates that having an original story over the source material is not an automatic guarantee.
Apparently, Cruella is a very good movie in terms of being fun to watch, but the motivation behind the story and like why she decides she wants to kill Dalmatians is very bad.
Yeah, that's kind of the impression I got when I watched it.
It sounds more like it should have been a movie that wasn't linked to a Disney property.
Yeah.
But I think the only one of these remakes I've seen was The Jungle Book, and I wasn't that impressed by it.
Really? I actually heard it was really good.
I was going to say, I haven't watched that one in particular myself, because I haven't even really seen the original Jungle Book, but I had heard a lot of good things about the live-action remake of the Jungle Book. But, you know, I would also kind of argue that, from what I've heard, that the original Jungle Book movie is not necessarily applauded as one of Disney's greatest masterpieces either. Like, so...
I think it was one of his last animated films that he was, like, attached to.
Yeah, so maybe, I don't know, maybe it's kind of a bit like a situation of it had a bit of a lower bar to clear. I haven't seen either of the Jungle Book movies, so don't come at me. But, like, I'm just going off what I've heard.
I haven't seen the animated sequels either.
I think
number 2.
Oh yeah, the Jungle Book. We mustn't forget like Disney's direct to VHS sequel frenzy. Like I will just say, like, just one last thing before we move on from the live action remakes. I did go and see Beauty and the Beast in cinemas because my mum and sister wanted to go see it and they dragged me along with them. And I didn't hate it necessarily, but like it wasn't really great. Like it's a shame because Emma Watson obviously is a very talented actress, but I did not like her singing voice at all in that movie. I did not like her singing very much at all. And again, it just doesn't do much over the original. Like there's very little reason to choose it over the original, if any. But I would like to take a moment now to, I guess, this is probably our last topic before we move on.
Well, I want to say one thing. So the reason they're making all these live actions is, you know, it plays on nostalgia and it, you know, it extends their copyright for one thing, but it does bring back the nostalgia, makes people go back and like, oh, I loved Lion King, I loved Aladdin when I was a kid. I'm going to go see the live action because why not? It's probably going to be terrible, but we're still going to go see it. And that actually made me remember one of the listener feedbacks that we got. So someone in the survey wrote this huge essay to me about their thoughts on Disney, and I have one excerpt of it here. This is one excerpt of it, and then they talk about the Muppets for a while. So yes, they're the best. But I just want to say what this is like. Listener mailbag section, woo! And it won't be that long because I know we've got other stuff to go to. But I think this is worth hearing. So they wrote, and they didn't give me a name. So Anonymous wrote, "It feels weird to have nostalgia for a company when what I really like are a few specific movies. No other company is elevated like this. People who grew up on The Simpsons and Futurama don't talk about their love of Fox. I don't think anybody is clamoring to fill their room with merchandise from Touchstone Pictures despite an association with Disney. We're celebrating a company for a specific style of animated movie that they haven't even made in 11 years. Giving credit for our childhoods when they really just produced some of our favorite movies when we were kids. There's a huge divide between what Disney is and what we want it to be, making it hard to adore a brand name for the products they're attached to."
That is extraordinarily true. Like, you know, no one else talks about, you know, their attachment for a specific media company. And like, you know, you were saying before, like how their live action movies kind of bank on nostalgia. And like they've been doing that since they basically realized they could do that. Like that's probably why they had all their direct to VHS sequels, you know, back in the day, which, you know, probably only 1 in 10 were worth watching, you know. It's like they didn't care that they were any good, or even that they were animated well for that matter. But just, if they could slap the names of big movies onto more things, they were going to do that.
Yeah. So everyone look forward to Live Lilo and Stitch coming soon. Not a joke. That's the real thing.
It's actually happening?
Yeah. It's going to be great.
Oh, no.
See, but this is the thing that I mean. There are actually some movies that a live-action remake, even if it was like exactly the same as the original, could work really well, like Atlantis and Treasure Planet. But instead, they still have to go with remaking movies where most of the time, one of the main characters has to be digitally reinserted into the movie, like Aladdin and Beauty and the Beast. And it's like, I think as a general rule of thumb, if one of your main characters has to be animated anyway, just make the whole film animated, and, people's eyes will thank you. I
feel like they'll always go for the more popular IP rather than maybe like taking a gamble on something that not as many people remember for these remakes.
The Emperor's New Groove live action. Come on, guys.
Oh,
yes,
please.
I'd watch that so much.
Absolutely.
So
That'd be so
stupid.
good.
If Tom Jones is still around when they make it, he needs to make a cameo.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, we've been rambling about this for ages. We had a good discussion though, but I think it's probably about time we move on to our game for this podcast, which Matthew insisted he be the one to run. So, what do you have for us, Matthew?
Insisted, apparently. All right. Oh, I didn't know it was called a game. I thought it was just trivia, so I wrote a trivia for you. If I could have thought of a different game, I would have. That would have been fun. But no, we got trivia, and I've tried to make it a little bit different.
When it needs to be a game that can be played on a podcast via audio only.
At least people can play along with a quiz. So I've tried to make it a bit more interesting than just a general, can you name the 7 dwarves? Because, that's a bit boring. I've tried to make it like trivia, but also stuff you probably don't know and can have fun guessing what the answer is. Some of them you might know those, so... but yeah, these are pretty obscure things that, even if you went to a Disney trivia night, you probably wouldn't hear half these questions. So hopefully...
I think we're in good hands, because you had a lot of experience doing Disney trivia when you were Pop Culture Club president.
I very much enjoy writing trivia in general. It's really fun hosting trivia, so that's why I asked if I could do the quiz. I didn't demand it, thank you. But I actually would have demanded it. All right, so... That's my drum roll. Do we have a sound effect for if something goes wrong? If something's right, do I just say tick?
No, that's all right. It's fine.
Okay, now I'm going to say tick. All right, question 1. What was the original name of Daisy Duck?
Daisy Duck. God, I haven't seen her in ages.
So here's my hint for you guys. So Daisy Duck is obviously the partner or the female version of Donald Duck, and was introduced in the 30s as a different name other than Daisy.
Was it Dorothy? No.
So everyone lock in an answer and I'll tell you who's right.
Okay, I'm going to guess it was another kind of flower, so I'm going to say daffodil.
Daffodil Duck. Love it.
What about you, Danny? What did you say?
I have no idea. I'll stick with Dorothy. Why not?
Everyone's on the right track. I'll say that. That's a hint for Isaac.
What about you, Isaac?
All right. I'm thinking Deirdre Duck.
Oh, see, everyone got the D part right. But it was Donna Duck.
Oh. That's a very 30s name, too.
Yeah. And you can see why they changed to Daisy Duck. It's a bit more interesting than Donna Duck. All right, so for question 2, what was the first Disney film to not be based on a pre-existing story? So obviously, most of the stories are based on Hans Christian Andersen fairy tales and other fairy tales. Which movie was the first true original?
Ooh, that's a tricky one. Because a lot of them are based on other materials, even ones that aren't explicitly so, like Frozen. That was based on the Snow Queen, so...
Does this
I would say this one. Here's a hint: this one is. A lot of people say it is based on something, but it isn't. It's definitely not explicitly based on something. It's not like a copy of that story. It's just using a general story idea that's been
Does
around
this
before.
include the musical package films, or is it just the narrative films?
Just the narrative films. That's a good question.
Ooh.
It's not 1962's Make Mine Music or anything like that. Don't worry.
It's not Saludos Amigos.
No, it's not Saludos Amigos. What a
Okay,
terrible movie that was.
I think I have my guess. Is it the Aristocats?
Anyone else want to have a guess? You might be
No.
right, but
I have no clue.
Is it the Rescuers?
so my source says it was The Lion King. I
my
believe The Rescuers
God.
was based on a kid's book. I believe
It was
Well,
also
I know
based
there
on
was-
Hamlet, but like
And
That's what I'm
Kimber the
saying.
White
So everyone
Lion.
says The Lion King's based on Hamlet, or I think there was another thing as well. But it's using the ideas of Hamlet to make a new thing. It wasn't just Hamlet
I
directly.
would not call The Lion King an animated movie of Hamlet. So
Yeah, exactly. All right, I have to look into The Rescuers now. I'm pretty sure it was a kid's storybook that it was based on, like a short story or something. But I'll check that.
I mean, even
All right.
even Shrek was based on a children's book as well. For that, not that it's Disney, obviously, but like I'm saying, like these based on movies like hide in the most unexpected places.
What was Shrek based on?
A children's book
Based on
called
what?
Shrek.
Oh, okay.
It was like a
It's
very
a lot of-
short book.
Yeah, a lot of stories are made from like movies are made from like really short stories that are like usually
Yeah.
just
I can
extended.
confirm that script writing is hard. So like.
Yeah. Question 3. If any of you have been to my Disney trivia night in the past, you'll know this one. Jackie Chan has voiced a major Disney character for the Chinese audiences. Do you know which character he was?
No idea.
Okay, can I ask for a hint? Is it a human character?
It is a movie that everyone knows, and that's why they got a big actor to play a character in it.
Okay. Jackie Chan isn't that old, so it wouldn't be something like Snow White, for instance. I seem to remember he was cast in Zootopia, so I'm going to go with that.
Anyone else want to have a guess? Or do you want to
No.
lock in Zootopia? That's
I
right, you're a team
remember
now.
seeing a DVD extra on Mulan that had Jackie Chan performing "I'll Make a
that
Man
would
Out
be
of
it.
You." So I think, what was the general's name? Is it like General
Shang.
Shang?
I think that's it.
I
Li
think
Shang.
Bow. Whatever his name is, you're wrong. It was Beast from Beauty and the Beast.
Oh.
Oh.
That was the first one he was in. I believe he might have been in a music video or something for Make a Man Out of You, but he definitely wasn't the voice actor for any of the characters.
I think
It was
he
Beast from Beauty and the
might
Beast.
have performed it for the either the Mandarin or Cantonese dub.
Maybe I should have made the question, what was the first movie he did then? But still. If you want to go look that up, if our producer over in the chat wants to Google that, go for it. The next question is, which Disney movie was originally called Kingdom of the Sun and was basically a Disney version of the classic Prince and the Pauper story?
The Emperor's New Groove.
Emperor's New
I know that for
Groove.
certain.
You're up to the middle part of the quiz where it's a bit easier. Because I ran out of ideas.
But would you get that
After
right?
3
right?
questions.
Like,
You did get that right. The Emperor's New Groove.
yeah.
Very good.
Yes.
So we're what?
Yeah,
5
but what some
questions
people
in,
don't
we've
seem to
all
know
got
is that it was
1
based
point.
on Prince and the Pauper.
So
Which
we're-
it obviously isn't
that-
anymore.
That was the 5th question, and we're all on 1 point now.
Oh, good. All
We're
right.
being exposed.
This is another
Poses.
somewhat easy yet somewhat maybe you don't know kind of question. Which famous person was the original voice actor for Mickey Mouse?
Oh, wasn't it?
Walt Disney.
Yeah, I thought it was Disney himself.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. Very good.
Yeah.
Tick, tick. All right,
Yay.
now to some more obscure questions. According to some random YouTube video I watched from 2018, which Disney song was the second most viewed on YouTube after Let It Go? So this person went through all the official Disney website, YouTube pages, music videos, and then ranked them from views. So I can't confirm this is 100% accurate, but according to YouTube from 2018, so nothing past 2018, which Disney song was the second most popular after Let It Go?
Okay, so I'm guessing whatever it was distant second because Let It Go is so massive. I'm gonna guess it's probably actually something a bit older though, because I don't think anything really before Let It Go, well, not for a long time really, and probably not even in the era of YouTube, had really blown up that much. So
I don't know
I'm
why,
gonna
but I lean towards like Mary Poppins sort of stuff.
you think it's like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna lock that in. That's
Okay,
my
I'm
answer.
gonna go. You don't look very confident. I'm gonna go with Hakuna Matata.
I'm not 100% like confident in this. I'm gonna say Can You Feel the Love Tonight?
All very good songs, but no, it's actually a newer song. Try Everything from Zootopia.
Oh.
And I believe it's because it was sung by Shakira, right? So
Yeah, it was
maybe a lot of
Shakira.
people
What a
who weren't.
shame.
Yeah, that's the second most viewed song on YouTube.
That's a good
according to
one
this
actually,
random
because that's a Disney song that doesn't sound like a Disney song. Like it just sounds like a normal song, really. Like so, you could play that, and if someone didn't know it was from Zootopia, they probably wouldn't guess that it was from a Disney movie. So
No,
that's
definitely
that actually makes a lot of sense because it's good to listen to just as a normal song.
Oh, it is definitely. All right. I only have 10 questions, by the way, so we are not going to take too long in this quiz, just so you know. I don't have endless questions. Question 7. My favorite website, Common Sense Media, allows generally overprotective parents to review movies to warn other parents about the content in them. Which Disney movie got this review? So the reviewer's name was Parent of a 17-year-old, and their review was, "This is the most inappropriate G movie I have ever seen, and for these reasons, there is underage drinking and smoking, some violence and peril, and language like jackass. I think they should have rated it PG-13, or at least PG, because having it G rated with all that stuff is just wrong."
Okay.
I think I've got my answer.
So my first instinct was Pinocchio, but I'm actually not sure if that is still rated G. I would think, according to modern standards, it would be rated PG because it has, because of the nature of the smoking and drinking scenes in it. So I'm guessing it's a movie that has smoking and drinking in it, but it's like not, a major thing. Like that people are just doing it.
Surprising,
normally.
a lot of 50s Disney movies have that in it.
Shrek is PG, right? I'm pretty sure.
Wait,
Shrek.
what movie?
Shrek.
Shrek isn't Disney.
Yes.
Shrek is also not Disney.
Yeah, I don't know.
So did you have an answer, Isaac?
I think it is Pinocchio. I think, like, under historical context, it's still rated G.
Do you want to guess a different one, Oscar, or do you want to go with him?
I'm gonna go with The Princess and the Frog. That might have had smoking in it, but I can't remember for sure.
It probably wouldn't have. It's quite a modern movie, but Pinocchio definitely had such foul language as jackass in it when they turn into donkeys and
I
stuff.
take that back. It's definitely not. It definitely doesn't have the word jackass.
Yeah, exactly. So nope, it was Pinocchio. So very good, Isaac. Applause.
Damn.
Applause sound effects here. Thank you, editor.
Is that still rated G? I thought like that must have gone up because I was probably released before like they even rated movies that way. So
Yeah.
I thought like
I think
if
given the context of like just history and just like it was always rated G, they're not gonna like bump it up. They're just probably gonna put like disclaimers at the front.
Yeah. I don't even know if they
true.
put disclaimers at the front except for on Disney Plus, where they do put disclaimers saying that there's outdated stuff in it. All right. The next question is like a little game, I guess. So everyone has to bid a number, and if you're correct, you get 1 point for each one of these you get right. But if you can't name the amount that you bid, so if you said 5 but then can only list 4, you lose. Or your points and everyone else gets the points you bid. So can you name the 6 parks at Disney World in Orlando, Florida?
there are six of them.
There are
Like
6
total?
of them.
3.
Oh, geez, you guys don't know any of them.
No, I've never been to Florida.
I think I've got 3.
I'm gonna go with
All right.
3 as well.
Are we
Isaac going
naming them
first.
all together? Or is it one by
Oh,
one?
dear. Oh, we're doing it teams before. Let's just do it. Let's do it together, hey? Let's see how many you can get. All right, there's 6 parks. I want to see if you guys as a team can name all 6 parks at Disney World in Orlando, Florida.
Right, I'm gonna bet 4 then, because these guys both know 3 apparently, and I know 0. So.
Well,
Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, you got Animal Kingdom.
Does Epcot count as a park?
I was gonna say it's the Epcot one.
Epcot's park.
Okay.
I knew one.
Yeah, see.
Is there still Tomorrowland?
Tomorrowland is part of another. I think Tomorrowland's part of Epcot. Yeah, Tomorrowland's part of Epcot.
Is the Disney Institute one of them?
You all said 3. You can't get any of them. You can only get 2 of them. Animal Kingdom and Epcot. Think of what the main park might be called.
Disney.
Disney World Park.
Oh wow! Okay, this is tougher than I thought.
Sorry, we spend more of our energy watching Disney's movies than going to their international theme parks.
Is Paradise Pier a park, or is that just its own like?
I believe Paradise Pier is something like the shopping district.
You know what's sad is I have been there. I've been to like Epcot and I've been to Florida.
That is sad, especially if you can't get the main park's name. So the main park, here's a hint, is Magic Kingdom.
Disney's Magic
Kingdom.
Yeah. Good. That was a good hint, me giving you the answer. There's Disney Hollywood Studios. And as you've already got, you've got Epcot and Disney Animal Kingdom. Then they had 2 water parks as well.
Wasn't one of them just
and by the silence, I'm assuming that means no one knows what they're called, which are Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon. So if you go to the original Disneyland, it's just got Magic Kingdom. That's the original, and it's quite big. It's bigger. I don't know. It's just the original, so a lot of people like to go there because it's the first one. But if you go to Disney World, you get all 4 parks plus the 2 water parks if you're into that kind of thing. All right, and the last 2 questions are much quicker than that, thankfully, for anyone bored of quizzes. In a poll of Swinburne Pop Culture Club members, what was the most popular choice for best Disney movie? So how well do you guys know your club?
Okay.
Oh, not very. Did the top result surprise you, Matthew?
Yes.
Okay.
It is something that is definitely Disney, but it's not something that people think of as Disney straight away.
People didn't cheat and answer Star Wars, did they? Or a Marvel movie?
So it's not something like that. It's something that's definitely a Disney property. It's just something you wouldn't think of as Disney straight away, maybe. That's a huge hint, but I can't really be more specific than that without giving it away. So I know it's not a huge, obvious hint, but it's a very good hint once you know the answer.
Okay.
Big Hero 6?
It's a good answer.
I am gonna go with... Hang on, I'm just browsing Disney Plus, just to see if
Get
anything jumps out at me.
Can you give us any further hints, or is that it?
Oh, here we go. There's a ride of it at Disneyland.
I'm totally out of luck.
And I've worded that very carefully as well.
When you said that, because we were talking about Splash Mountain before, the first thing that came to my mind was Song of the South. But obviously, that can't have been the answer, right? Right?
Who knows? Maybe your club is just the kind of people that love that kind of movie.
Oh, I hope not. I'm gonna go with. I really have no idea. Shoot.
I feel like I want to give Dan points just for answering something.
Yeah,
right. Danny.
I
want to give Danny points just for answering something.
Finding Nemo.
I'm gonna go with...
That's too obvious.
I'm gonna go with The Sword in the Stone.
The answer is Pirates of the Caribbean.
Oh, doy!
Which is 100% a Disney movie because it's based on a Disney ride. That's why I said it's a ride at Disneyland, not it's based on a ride at Disneyland. Disneyland ride is based on it because it was originally a ride at Disneyland.
The other way
and they made a movie
around.
about it. So
Oh.
there's no denying that it's a Disney property. It's not like a Marvel or it's Star Wars or anything. It is a Disney movie. So good job to your club for having good taste. And last question, what was Swinburne Pop Culture Club's best Disney song choice?
Okay, this I'll have no idea.
Okay, well, I think it's a safe bet that it'll be something a bit more mainstream. I don't think...
Okay, so I'll give you clues just because it's so hard otherwise. Yes, it is a very mainstream movie. It is not the most popular song in the movie. And the song that is the most popular is a very good song.
Okay,
Probably
so
my favorite from the movie too.
It's not the most famous song in the movie it's from.
Correct.
Is what you're saying.
So it's not Immortals by Fall Out Boy.
The only song in that movie.
So...
okay. I also say that we had 12 people who did the quiz, and yeah, this was the majority vote.
Okay, my guess is, if what you're saying, the most popular song from the movie it's from, which this isn't, but the most popular song is a very good song, I'm gonna say For the First Time in Forever.
Frozen for the first time in forever.
I'm gonna say, Do You Want to Build a Snowman?
Oh, we're going Frozen.
I don't have an answer. I have no idea.
Here's a hint. Danny, here's a hint. Same movie, different song.
That
There's only
doesn't
one
help.
other song in the movie.
You know,
So,
that actually
originally-
doesn't help me.
Oh, yeah,
Because I don't know the names of the songs.
You got a
I
choice
know what it
between In Summer, Love is an Open Door, and the song that he sings Sven about being a reindeer.
Or the song with the troll people.
Or,
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be
Hey,
the
now,
reindeer
huh?
one.
Reindeer are better than snowmen. Reindeer are better than people. But the answer was Love is an Open Door,
Oh.
which is a very good song. So go listen to that.
Only not in context. It's not a good song in the context of the plot.
Correct, but it's a bop. So just like that, a lot of the villain songs, they're all bad in context, but they're very good. Like Be Prepared. Oh, good
Yeah,
song.
but when they're sung, you know they're a villain.
That's true. That's true.
Knowing, listening to The First Time in Forever, knowing that later Hans has his poorly written, poorly executed turn to the dark side for no reason, which wasn't ever established, and he has no reason to actually do that, makes it a bad song in context.
And that is the end of the quiz. I didn't do point tracking, but
Well, I'm not sure if anyone was keeping track of points, but I think we can safely conclude we all sucked at that.
that was the idea. So that's what I
was
wanted.
going to say, I think
so hopefully
that has less to do with Danny, Isaac, and I not having the best Disney knowledge, and more to do with the fact that Matt's Disney trivia is brutal.
yeah. So hopefully some of your listeners did better, and they can leave a comment on the Discord saying how they did in the quiz.
Yeah, or on YouTube.
Or on YouTube.
Like, comment, subscribe.
Or on Spotify, where I listen to it. Can you leave comments on Spotify? Probably not.
I don't think you can.
Well, after our brutal humiliation at Matthew's hands, which is probably the main reason he even came to this podcast, we should move on to our pop culture recommendations for this episode. So I think we'll start with our guest, Matthew, because I think there's a good chance that yours might be Disney anyway. So what are your recommendations then?
So I did try to pick Disney recommendations just to fit the theme, but I'm also a big anime nerd, so I'm going to recommend anime as well, because that's what I do. But for those who do have Disney Plus does release a lot of original content, and Disney Plus Day is in November, and they're releasing a lot of new stuff, like some movie about Olaf from Frozen, recreating all the old Disney movies, which is going to be so stupid, and Diary of a Wimpy Kid, they're going to make a new animated movie, so that's a bit of fun. But right now, they've got, this little thing that not a lot of people have heard of called The Muppets, which is a very good show. But The Muppets have recently released a Halloween special, which has a lot of guest stars I've never heard of. It has the most boring start to a movie I've seen in a long time before getting really good, and is definitely worth a watch, so don't give up after watching 5 minutes of it if any of you have tried to watch it. The Muppets Halloween special is a recommendation from big old Muppet fan right here. Have any of you watched any of like the Muppet
No,
movies or anything?
I mean,
Any interest in the
I
Muppets
haven't
or?
watched. I loved like the Sesame Street Muppets, and I did watch a bit of the Muppets as a kid, but I have not been watching them much like now that I'm an adult. Like,
I had
but
I remember
I
like I had like a Muppets Take Manhattan DVD as a kid. Like, I watched that a few times. And then like the Muppets 2011 is great.
I had the whole series or whatever on DVD, and I used to watch it all as a kid. I used to laugh my face off.
but
Well, Muppets is made for adults. Like Jim Henson was very adamant that when he made the Muppets, he wanted it to be adult entertainment. He didn't want it to be for kids. He wanted it to be for adults to watch in prime time, kind of like a talk show. And only recently has it become a lot more childish and whatever because
that's kind of a
past and
shame.
stuff. So, which is, yeah.
I am interested in the other thing you mentioned, like the Diary of a Wimpy Kid animated movie. I hadn't heard of that before now, but I am interested now that you've mentioned it because like Diary of a Wimpy Kid is, I mean, not that the movies were ever brilliant, but like it is kind of interesting to see what the difference between a live action and animated adaptation can be like. So
the animation is so terrifying. It's worth watching the trailer, but it's great. I love it because it's very, very loyal to the books, and I do like the books even as an adult because I think I'll go into really quick Diary of a Wimpy Kid analysis here, but the main character is the most jerk character I've ever seen as a main character for a kid's book. He's horrible to all his friends. He never gets redemption. There's no point where he does anything right, and it's amazing to read that in a kid's book.
Absolute. I'm pretty sure one of the check marks for being a sociopath is never feeling empathy towards anybody, and Greg Heffley checks that box quite well.
It's great seeing that, and he's getting his own animated movie now, and I just hope they follow the book and don't give him any sort of redeeming features because who wants to watch that?
I had to break my addiction to buying every new Diary of a Wimpy Kid book. I was 16 and I was like, okay, you know what? I'm kind of a bit over these. I need to stop reading them and stop spending money on them. And even now, if I walk past the bookshop and I see one, I kind of get the shakes.
When you get to my age, you stop caring about people judging you. I still buy them. I have them all. So even the spin-offs. Anyway, my second recommendation. I want to get through my recommendations quickly because I know we have to wrap up so shortly. So sorry for making random Diary of a Wimpy Kid chat. My second recommendation is Earth to Ned, which is made by the Muppet Studios, and it's basically a big alien who crashed down on Earth, and he was meant to invade Earth, but he decided that he liked pop culture so much that he was just going to zoom in special guests and interview them. That's it. He becomes a talk show host because he loves pop culture so much.
Sounds great.
And so it's kind of like the classic Muppets, and it's just puppetry plus real people being interviewed, and it's just a little bit of fun. It's all on Disney Plus.
Cool.
I don't think it did that well, so it's probably not going to get more. But sorry,
what was that called again? Sorry.
Earth to Ned.
Earth to Ned. I'll have to look into that.
It's a very silly show. It's so hard to figure out who it's targeted towards because some of the jokes are very childish, but all the guests are for adults. It's got RuPaul and I can't remember who the other people's names are, but very guests of shows you would have seen as an adult, not a kid. So it's a bit weird like that, but I think they're trying to make it family entertainment again. And my last recommendation is an anime one. So it's a show that I've recommended in the anime channel before, but it's called Aquatope of the White Sand. I can't remember the full name. It had a very long name like every anime does, and you talked about that already in your anime podcast. If anyone wants to hear more about anime, go look back at older episodes. But anyway, it's a show about a girl who works at an aquarium, and it's got very, very nice animation of the aquarium animals and stuff. The animation for the humans is not as good, but whatever. Fish, pretty. And it's basically, you see all those shows about, a dying aquarium or a dying idol school, a school that's saved by idols and stuff. But this one goes in a completely different direction than you would expect from the start. Because you hear, a girl wants to save their aquarium. How's she going to do it? Well, sort of spoiler, but she doesn't. And it's amazing because it goes into whole different places that anime doesn't really go into. That makes it sound way more deep than it is, but it goes just somewhere really interesting and isn't just the tropey old, something's closing down, how do they make it, how do they save it? It's not that. So that's my recommendations. Oscar, how about you? You're the host, I'll let you do that.
All right, well, I'll probably go last. So what were your recommendations then, Danny?
Mine's Vivo, the Sony film, not the YouTube music thing that you guys brought up before the podcast. And it's about, you follow this little kinkajou who's been sort of adopted and looked after by this man in Cuba. And something quite sad happens. They go on, this kinkajou goes on a little adventure, finds a few friends, and it's just constant action throughout the entire film. It's also a musical with really good music, obviously. And yeah, it's really refreshing to watch, and it keeps you engaged. So I'd highly recommend that.
Sounds
So
interesting.
looking at the poster for it, is it specific type of music? Is it like Coco music?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. I did notice that when I looked at the poster earlier. It does share a bit of aesthetic with Coco, which is kind of mostly fine because Coco had a brilliant aesthetic, so I don't necessarily mind if like other movies like try and utilize that as well.
Yeah, and from the look of it, looks like it's just the aesthetic. It's not like the story or anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the story's very different.
Yeah. Nice.
What about you then, Isaac?
All right, I've got one suggestion for this podcast. It's a Disney suggestion, but it's not currently on Disney Plus in Australia. It pops up from time to time on SBS On Demand and is also available on Blu-ray. It is 1999's The Straight Story, and it is not a film about the world's most aggressively cishet man. It's the story of Alvin Straight, a 73-year-old man who takes a 500-mile journey to visit his like sort of dying brother by ride on lawnmower. And as crazy as it sounds, it's dealt with such like it's a really beautiful and mature movie, the sort of thing you wouldn't expect from the main Disney label, I guess. Like something this sort of like heavy. It's a G-rated film made by David Lynch of all people.
Yeah, I just saw that. I googled it. I'm like, David Lynch. Okay.
Like it feels like something you wouldn't expect from him, but at the same time also feels something he would do. It's a really beautiful movie, shot really nicely. The music's great. Richard Farnsworth, who plays Alvin Straight, this is like one of his final performances. It's so beautiful. It's basically like you're seeing him sort of like almost come to terms with his own mortality as it goes along. It's like getting a bit dark, sorry, but like it's just a really, really beautiful movie.
I mean, you kind of had me at cross-country trip on a ride on lawnmower. So like, I'll have to see if I can check it out. But it sounds like it's a bit hard to come by, at least in Australia, which is a shame.
I will say though, there's a company called Imprint Films that just re-released it on Blu-ray very recently, and again, it's also available from time to time on SBS On Demand. And if you have a VPN, it is on Disney Plus in the US.
But we can't endorse that because that would violate Disney Plus's terms of service.
All right.
So you absolutely shouldn't do that under any circumstances. I guess that leaves just my recommendations, and I will continue my trend of recommending things that people definitely already know about, but I want to recommend them anyway, just in case anyone hasn't. And for me, that's a game that I've been playing for the past week, which is Metroid Dread. It is a lot of fun, and one of the most fun I've had really in a 2D platformer-esque game. I don't know how familiar you guys are with the Metroid series at all, like, but I think Dread finally kind of I've played Super Metroid and Metroid Fusion, and I think Dread is kind of the perfect balance between the two. Like, I remember playing Super Metroid for the first time, and I would get lost constantly. I basically had to have a walkthrough open the entire time I was playing it because I just could not be bothered to like figure out where I'm supposed to go, especially when like a lot of it's hidden behind secret blocks that like you just have to randomly destroy and stuff. But a lot of people love that about Super Metroid. But then Metroid Fusion I should also say Super Metroid was released on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, so it's quite an old game. And Metroid Fusion, which was released on the Game Boy Advance, so it's also quite an old game, is much more linear. So the game actually kind of explicitly tells you where to go at every step. You just kind of have to work out how to get there. But Metroid Dread, which is the first 2D Metroid in, I think it's about 14 years, and it's also the first HD Metroid game, if I'm not mistaken. It strikes a good balance between the two. Like, the game does not explicitly tell you where to go at any point, really. It does more, this is kind of what you should be thinking about doing. And it's up to you to kind of figure out where you should go to do that thing. And it's also very intuitive, like with whenever you get a new power-up. It's very intuitive with guiding you back to where that power-up can be used and like to unlock new paths. And it's just a brilliant game, and I think it's a really good execution of the Metroid formula, and I would totally recommend it whether or not you've played a Metroid game before.
Yeah, I've heard what you were saying about how it's just like it doesn't guide you. I can't play games like that anymore. I have to know what to do because I have no time for games. I need to know what to do, how to do it. Just let me have fun. That made me look and think.
Oh yeah, because like, I was anxious about that playing Dread because I'm kind of a bit like that as well. But like, it just does a really good job at just nudging you in the right direction. Like, it doesn't explicitly tell you to go do this thing, but like, it makes it easy for you to think, oh, I should go to this place and do this thing. Like, which is not what Super Metroid does. Super Metroid literally gives you no guidance whatsoever. So,
no, it's good. I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I just feel like for some people who don't like that kind of Metroidvania stuff, it might really change their mind.
Oh yeah, would you say that? Fair enough. I'm not. Yeah, if you already know you really don't like that genre of game, I wouldn't necessarily say it's the game to change your mind. But if you're a bit unsure, I would at least give it a shot.
So you would say if you don't know if you like Metroidvanias, this is probably one of the ones to try because it's like up there and like one of the best ones.
Yeah, and like I said, it's also the first HD mainline brand new Metroid game, and the first 2D Metroid in 14 years, and even the first main series Metroid game at all in quite some time as well. So it's a big deal game. So it's definitely worth checking out if you want, if you know you're into that style of game. But with that, I
have one thing to say, Oscar. Oscar.
Might that be massive?
Sorry, I want to introduce a new segment to the show really quickly. Or it'll be super quick. And it's called the anti-recommendation segment, where if you've watched something and you hate it and you want to tell everyone that they shouldn't watch it, because we need to warn people as well that there's bad things out there. So I just really want to quickly say that I watched Free Guy on Disney+. I hated that movie. As much as I like Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool and, all the other stuff that people love Ryan Reynolds in, Free Guy is the most stock standard tropey script, and nothing is funny. The script is very boring, and I don't care that everyone loves the movie and it's getting positive reviews because there's nothing better on to watch right now. It's bad. Don't watch it. That's my anti-recommendation.
Isn't that the movie where Ryan Reynolds realizes he's an NPC?
Oh yeah, that's why I was relevant to pop culture as well, because Ryan Reynolds is in a video game. He's a non-playable character, but he realizes that he's in a game, and the movies are not actually majorly about that. The side story of the movie is really interesting, and it's just not done well enough to carry the movie like it should. So I don't really want to.
Right.
I'm gonna watch that now. Confirm that it's bad.
Well, I'm guessing
so disappointed.
I'm guessing as soon as Matthew blindsided us with this extra segment, I'm guessing did anyone else have any anti-recommendations they wanted to issue?
You guys must have watched something you didn't like recently.
No, I don't go out of my way to watch things that don't interest me. So,
I don't know.
I saw the description of Free Guy on Disney Plus and that sounds dumb. I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah, but it's about video games and Ryan Reynolds. How could you not watch it?
Because it's about video games and movies with video game centric plots very rarely turn out well.
Yeah, I have to say at the moment I was just uni's swamping me, so I tend to watch movies I know that I'll enjoy because I don't have much time.
That's fair.
So did
Think
anyone
my-
else have any?
My
any
anti-recommendations, I've been watching through the Friday the 13th movies. There are some of them that I don't think are very good. We'll give praise to 3 and 6. I think they're my favorites. Also want to give a shout out to the new Steven Soderbergh movie, Let Them All Talk. It's dialogue-driven movie set on a cruise ship. It's pretty boring. Meryl Streep's okay in it, but it was a bit boring for me.
Fair enough.
I don't like any horror
All right.
movies, so
Well,
I'll definitely not watch
I
that.
think before Matthew tries to ramble on any further, I think that concludes this episode of the Swinburne Pop Culture Club podcast. Good God, we've gone over time quite a bit. So
Make,
we better end it right here and now.
Make sure to check us out. We've got a Discord and our community is very active. You can sign up for the club
Yes.
on Swinburne Uni 1. We've now got an associates membership. So it's only $10 and then you can come to all of our events and have a lot
Even
of
if
fun.
you're not a Swinburne student.
Yeah.
Oh, imagine not being a Swinburne student.
Matt.
I'm a graduate.
Yeah.
Yes, check us out. You know, the podcast is available on Spotify, YouTube, which you probably already knew because chances are you're using one of those platforms. Check out our Discord, like Danny said. Like, comment, subscribe, and everyone enjoy the end of lockdown if you're in Melbourne, for good measure. Right, I think that's it. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.